What is the essence of who a human being is? The question, who am I, is a question that has been played with by philosophers throughout history. Famously, the French philosopher René Descartes, or Descartes, said the statement, "I think, therefore I am." And all the way from back then to contemporary thinkers like today, like for example Eckhart Tolle, have attempted to deconstruct this question of what is the essence of a human being. And actually, speaking of Eckhart, I want to use his ideas as a launching pad to go into what I really want to talk about today, which is Ibn Sina and Mulla Sadra's ideas on this topic. But let's start with Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle actually wrote that he thinks Descartes didn't take it far enough when he said, "I think, therefore I am." He said that thoughts don't define what a person is, because according to Eckhart, anything that changes in a human being cannot be the essence of that human being. So a quick example, to understand this is, for example, this physical form, right? Eckhart famously writes about how this physical form isn't the essence of who we are, and that's pretty obvious to most people. But he uses that as an example to extrapolate more things that aren't what we are according to him. So, for example, he uses the example of the physical form. For example, if I were to get a liver transplant, that doesn't change who I am. Yes, a part of my body is now different, and our bodies change every day. Skin cells die and are shed off and replaced almost, every few days. But that doesn't change who I am. Therefore, this physical form isn't who I really am, because it changes. So, from there, Eckhart extrapolates that anything else that changes in this way also can't be who I really am. So, for example, what else changes? Your thoughts can change, right? So René's idea that, I think, therefore I am, although this isn't exactly the context he used it in, but according to Eckhart, he didn't take it far enough, because thoughts also change, and ideas also change, opinions change, beliefs change, emotions change. So none of these things can really define or be the essence of who a person is. So what is the essence? Well, Eckhart gave one version of an answer, and I want to go through that first, just for completeness sake, before we jump to Ibn Sina. So Eckhart said that if all of these things aren't the essence of what a human being is, because these things change, then the awareness or the space that contains these things, or within which these things arise, that space or that awareness, that emptiness, is the essence of who we are. That is who we are. And within that awareness is where thoughts arise, ideas arise, opinions are formed, beliefs are held, and so on and so forth. His books explain it in a lot more detail. He has 2 books, I believe. Maybe there are more. One of them is called The Power of Now, very famous, and another one, a sequel, it's called A New Earth. Can go through those. But this was Eckhart's attempt at an answer to this question. Now let's move over to Ibn Sina. And for a long time in history, Ibn Sina's version of this was the predominant theory in the Islamic world, in the world of Islamic philosophy. So what did Ibn Sina or Avicenna say about this? Well, he looked at it a little differently, right? He looked at it in terms of there are certain things in a human being that are of essence, and there are certain things that are of accident. So let's quickly define what he meant when he said something is of essence and something is of accident. So when Ibn Sina says something is of essence, what he was saying, what he meant by that term, right? We're just defining terms now, is that without that thing, what we're talking about wouldn't be what it is. So for example, what is the essence of a chair? Is that you sit in it. If the chair doesn't have a seat anymore, it's not a chair anymore, right? So the seat is of essence to the chair. It is essential to the chair. But whether the chair has an armrest or not, whether it's made of leather or whether it's made of some kind of cloth material, whether it's made of, the stands are made of wood or metal, that is by accident, you know? That is something that could be replaced by something else and it would still be a chair. So, how does that translate onto human beings? Well, he looks at it a little bit differently. He looks at it as in the sense that there are certain things that you can't really change about yourself. He doesn't look at it as human beings as an entire species. He looks at individual, right? On the individual level. So he says, here's a person, right? They were born in this way. These things about them, they can't change. That is their essence. But then things that they add on to that they could have done or could not have done to improve themselves or make themselves worse in any way, those are things of accident. So the essence is that which you can't change about yourself. The things you're born with. For example, I'm born in Pakistan, so I'm Pakistani. That's not something I control, right? So that is something of essence about me, according to Ibn Sina's theory. But then, if I go and I study medicine, for example, or let's say, suppose in another reality, I study something else, both are possible. That is of accident, right? If I'm born in a certain country, that's not something I can change. So that is by essence. And whatever I do, I could have done it, I could have not done it, I could have done something else. That is of accident. So Ibn Sina says that the things that are of essence are the things that you can't change, and the things that you do in your life are the things that are of accident, by accident, right? And those things, and the best you can do is to decorate your essence with as many good accidents as you can. This was Ibn Sina's theory. Years later, a Persian philosopher named Mulla Sadra had a difference with this theory, right? Mulla Sadra's idea was, Mulla Sadra had a different approach. Mulla Sadra was more of an esoteric type of philosopher. He had an approach of Irfan, Quran, Burhan, right? So Irfan means sort of esoteric reality, philosophy type of insight. So he believed that things have a deeper meaning than just surface level. And then he would use Burhan, which is rational thinking, to further explain those things. And then Quran, which is textual proof to legitimize his theory. And if he could go through all the steps, then he would hold that theory. What he did essentially with Ibn Sina's idea is that he said that the things that Ibn Sina called by accident or accidents actually can, at a certain level, you know, there are different stages of these things. And one of the stages of accident is essence. So if you, for example, pick up a good habit and you do it again and again and again and again, eventually it goes through stages, and one of the stages of that accident is that it becomes part of the essence of who you are. It's a little abstract, but try to follow me, right? So he said that it's not just that your essence is something you can't change and all you can do is try to decorate it. No. He said that what you do becomes a part of who you are, not just in a sense of some sort of adornment that you're putting, but it becomes a part of your zat, of your essence, of the core of who you are, of your being. And obviously all of these discussions that they had, especially Ibn Sina and Mulla Sadra, have, of course, religious undertones. But they're interesting ideas. And, you know, a lot of people often ignore Islamic philosophers when these discussions come up, you know. The discussion of, you know, what a person is. People will look at Greek philosophers and then they will jump to Eastern philosophers in terms of, you know, Lao Tzu, or they'll look at Confucius, or they'll look at all these other types of people, but they will kind of gloss over the Muslim side. And, you know, it's interesting that there is a rich depth of discussion on the Islamic philosophy side of these things as well.